When I was a young lad back in the day, like 14 to 15 years old I want to say, one of my favorite music genres to listen to was heavy metal. I used to listen to heavy metal all the time as a kid, and there was a point in my life when I was kind of obsessed with it. Now I have sort of grown out of that weird phase of my life where I was an edgy heavy metal kid. And to be honest, I don't really even like heavy metal all that much anymore. Now I listen to proper music, like ABBA. But I still do somewhat enjoy the genre, and I can see why so many people love it. Some of my favorite heavy metal bands to listen to back in the day were bands like Slipknot, Metallica, Korn, Iron Maiden, and the reason you're watching this video, Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath still remains one of my favorite bands of all time, and I listen to their music on a regular basis. They're the only heavy metal band that I still listen to this day. Now, Sabbath has made a plethora of fantastic albums over the past few years, but the album I'll be talking about in this video is Paranoid. This has got to be one of my favorite albums ever made, not only by Black Sabbath, but one of my favorite albums of all time. This album is often considered to be one of the first proper heavy metal albums, and inspired so many other fantastic heavy metal bands. But before I talk about what makes Paranoid such an amazing album, let me briefly talk about the history of Black Sabbath, and how this amazing album came to be. Now our story begins in 1968, in Birmingham, England.
British?
Where two factory workers named Tony Lomi and Bill Ward dreamt of escaping their dull and boring lives working at a factory and become musicians, since they both had special talents in music, with Tony being a guitarist and Bill being a drummer. So one day they finally decided to form a band and team up with bassist Geezer Butler and vocalist Ozzy Osbourne, who is a very interesting fella who has done quite a lot of things.
We're talking with the one and only Ozzy Osbourne. Good evening, Ozzy.
What?
Good evening, Ozzy.
Hello there.
How are you?
Fine.
I will get into everything Ozzy has done, since talking about all the shit Ozzy has done would take days, maybe years. But just know that this man has definitely shown God and the devil the middle finger on several occasions. Back on track, the group would initially name their band the Polka Tulk Blues Band, which they got from a brand of talcum powder. However, they were shortly changed the name to Earth, where they produced some songs and did some live gigs. They got somewhat decent to moderate success, but while playing in England in 1969, the band found out that there was another British band named Earth, which people got confused on which band was which, so they needed to pick a new name for their band. One day while Ozzy and Geezer were at a cinema, they were watching a screening of the 1963 film Black Sabbath, starring Boris Karloff. Initially, they wrote Black Sabbath as a song, since they really liked the name and how it had sort of a horror feel to it. The original song had a really dark and twisted edge to it, which was uncommon at the time. This will push the band into a much darker and grittier direction, a total contrast from other bands at the time, which are focusing on hippie music, rock music, and even jazz music.
You like jazz?
So with the new style they had, they decided to rename their band to Black Sabbath in August of 1969, and focused on producing much darker material. Black Sabbath's first official album they released was simply titled Black Sabbath, which is pretty common for bands to name their first album after their band name. It was released on the 13th of February 1970 in the UK, and on the 1st of June 1970 in the United States by Warner Brothers Records. This album is often considered to be the first proper heavy metal album to release, and rightfully so. It was also a huge success, reaching number 8 on the UK album charts and number 23 on the US album charts. It was so successful that it even featured in Robert Dermy's book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. But right after the release of their first album in the United States, they got straight to work on their next album, which would become Paranoid. Originally, they recorded only 7 songs for the album, and their album wasn't even going to be called Paranoid. They originally planned for the album to be called War Pigs, which is named after their song War Pigs, and the song itself was meant to be a commentary on war. However, the studio wanted an extra song and a new title, so they came up with Paranoid. Paranoid was a last-minute addition song to the album. The entire song was written in under 25 minutes, and the iconic guitar riff in the beginning was made up on the spot by Tony Lomi. So when the album released in the UK in October 1970, and in the US in January 1971, it was a humongous success. It reached number 1 in the UK charts, and reached number 12 in the US charts, and would go on to sell over 4 million copies in the US alone. Basically, this album was a hit, although rock and roll critics didn't like it that much, since this album was very different from other genres of music at the time, so critics didn't really know what to think of this album at the time. But as time would go on, critics would consider this album to be one of the greatest and most influential heavy metal albums of all time. So with the history out of the way, why do I think this is one of the best albums ever made? Well, let me go over each and every song here and talk about what makes this album a masterpiece. Now, despite how successful this album is, it is a really short album with only a handful of songs. The entire runtime of the album is around 40 minutes long. You would think that the small number of songs would affect the quality, but no, each and every song here is fantastic, and it's easy to see why so many people consider this to be one of the greatest heavy metal albums of all time. The album has such an interesting yet unique sound to it, if that makes sense. It doesn't sound like any other album released at the time. Like I said earlier, this is one of the first heavy metal albums ever released. They had nothing to base this off of at the time. They just had to make the music they wanted to make. All the songs here can either be pretty good to amazing. There isn't a single bad song here. If I were to point out one small issue I have here, some of the songs can really drag on, but since the music is so good, it isn't a major issue. If you want to properly listen to this album, you need to be wearing headphones. Marmite! It's the best way to experience this album, and really lets the music settle in while you're listening. Now I'm going to talk about each and every song here, review them, and then rank them from worst to best. Let's get right into it. The first song we have here is War Pigs. Like I said earlier, this song was initially going to be the album's main song, and what the album would have been named after. And for what it is, it's pretty good. Not the best song from the album, but I can see why so many people love it. The opening to the song is really good, and does a great job in setting the tone for the rest of the song. And the lyrics are also really good, and are great to sing along to. Although the song does go on for way too long. The entire song was almost 8 minutes long, which in my opinion is way too long for this kind of song. It sort of feels like they dragged the song after the 3-minute mark, but it's still a great song, and the commentary on war and politics is very subtle but nice. I would recommend trying to listen to all the political themes here, it's really good. Next song is Paranoid. This is the main song of the album, and what they named the album after. And say what you will about the song, but I personally love it. Despite how rushed the song is, it's one of their best songs. The opening guitar theme is very recognizable, and Ozzy's vocals here is just fantastic. The song is essentially about some random guy going insane, and his wife couldn't help him get better, so he just goes batshit insane. Insanity is the best word to describe this song. It feels like you're listening to someone going insane. This is a common theme with Black Sabbath songs, but here is the main focus, and it's great. The song itself is the second shortest song of the entire album, less than 3 minutes long to be exact. They didn't pad out the song with a guitar or drum solo that lasts for ages. They kept it short and simple. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of this song, but already I consider this to be one of the best songs of the album, with amazing lyrics, vocals, and music. Next song is Planet Caravan, which is an interesting song to say the least. Honestly, I don't really have much to say about the song. It sounds so different when compared to their other songs, which usually isn't a bad thing, but this song really sticks out like a sore thumb. And it's pretty boring, I'm gonna be honest. Nothing really happens here. It's the same background music over and over again, with Ozzy echoing the background. It's not a terrible song, not at all, but it isn't an amazing or incredible song either. So far, this is the weakest Black Sabbath song. Again, not terrible, but compared to Black Sabbath's other songs, it's mediocre. Next song is Iron Man, which I fucking love. Now to get this out of the way, this song was not based on the Marvel character Iron Man. This song is about a time traveler going back in time, and it's not about Mr. Robert Downey Jr. in an Iron Man suit. Although this song would have been perfect for the Iron Man movies. I don't know why they didn't include it in the films. Anyway, this song is amazing. It's the perfect length, balances music and vocals very well, and is such an iconic song. The opening alone sends shivers down my spine, and the opening bit where Ozzy goes, "I am Iron Man." Like, it's perfect, bruh. Next song is Electric Funeral. I remember not really liking this song when I was younger, but listening to it now, it's really good. What the fuck was I on as a kid? Anyway, this is a really great song. The guitar and bass here is very different from their other songs, but still incredibly unique, and has a fantastic sound to it. And as always, Ozzy's vocals here is amazing. Not really much else to say about the song. The background music is really good, and it goes for a different pace compared to the other songs. Really good. Next song is Hand of Doom. This song took me by surprise. When I first listened to it, I assumed it was going to be a much slower and relaxed song. Since in the beginning they go for a more calm vibe, with the bass guitar in the beginning and the calm vocals by Ozzy, but less than a minute in they quickly go into a heavy metal theme, then right after they go for a more calm tone again, then right back into heavy metal. The sudden tonal shift may seem bad and distracting at first, but they do a really good job on transitioning into these different types of music together, and it's just a really good song in general. It's pretty standard for the album, but this is simply a really good song. Love the opening and how they transitioned into different types of music. Next song is Rat Salad. This is a very interesting song. There's no vocals or singing here, which may seem bad at first, since Ozzy's vocals are usually the best part of their songs, but this song is so unique yet brilliant. The music on its own is really good, but what saves the song for me is the phenomenal drumming. I don't know much about drumming, but from what I can tell, it is incredibly difficult and takes a lot of time to master. But the drumming that plays in the middle of the song is insane. Even the guitar and bass is fantastic. Just because there's no vocals here does not decrease the quality of the song. Listening to the drummer going insane is honestly amazing. This song is fantastic. A perfect example of candy for the ear with no vocals needed. And our final song of the album is Fairies Wear Boots. And it's okay. Honestly, I'm slightly disappointed with this song. Not because it's terrible or anything, but it's just On its own, it's really good, but compared to the previous songs, it's honestly the weakest song out of the bunch. Again, the album isn't terrible, but in my opinion, it's just nothing special. If it weren't for Ozzy's iconic vocals here, I would honestly mistake this for another heavy metal song. Most Black Sabbath songs are so recognizable, and you can easily tell if you're listening to one of their songs, but this one is just generic. Really disappointed that I didn't like this song, because I honestly wanted to love it, but it just wasn't for me, I guess. I wish I liked it, but in my opinion, the song is just okay. Now that I've talked about all the songs individually, it's time to rank them. This is very difficult to rank, but I think I came up with a fair ranking scheme. I'll start with the weakest song, then slowly go to the best song. At number 8 we got Planet Caravan. At number 7 we got Fairies Wear Boots. At number 6 we got Hands of Doom. At number 5 we got Electric Funeral. At number 4 we got War Pigs. At number 3 we got Rat Salad. At number 2 we got Paranoid. And finally at number 1 we got Iron Man, the best song in the entire album. Jesus Christ, this was such a pain to rank. I'm never doing this again. Fuck! Now to wrap up this video, I know a lot of people may not agree with my opinions or my ranking, but listen, I ain't a music expert, nor do I particularly have a great taste in music, so yeah, leave me alone. I just simply want to talk about one of my favorite albums of all time and why I love it so much. Again, I'm not a massive fan of heavy metal, nor do I particularly like the genre, but I still adore this album. Every single song here slaps. Even the weaker songs here are still great to listen to. I wish I could have talked more about Black Sabbath and their music, but I just want to focus on this album since it holds a very special place in my heart. It's an amazing album, and I would highly recommend listening to it, since it's essentially 8 amazing songs all in one. Anyway, thank you all for watching this video. This is my first time talking about music on this channel, and it was a really fun experience listening over this entire album and looking into the history of Black Sabbath. I might talk about more music related stuff in the future if this video does well, but I hope you all enjoyed this video, hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.